Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Saturday, February 21st, 2026. And I think before we even start the engine on this one, we need to just take a moment, just take a breath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you are listening to this right now, whether you're on your commute or at the gym or just sitting in your kitchen staring at your coffee, you know that the last 24 hours have been, well, historic almost feels like too small of a word.
It really does.
It feels like the ground has physically shifted beneath our feet.
You know, we often talk about historic moments loosely in the media. We overuse the phrase for election cycles or tech launches.
Right.
But what happened yesterday,
Yeah.
the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, on suspicion of misconduct, that is a genuine pivot point.
It is.
It's the moment where the rubber finally met the road after decades of spinning wheels.
It's the kind of headline that makes you stop and stare at your screen. I mean, I remember exactly where I was when the notification popped up.
Same here.
It was one of those push notifications that you have to read 3 times to make sure it's not a parody account.
Exactly.
But here is the thing, and this is why we are here today. To just look at the arrest is to miss the iceberg beneath the water. We need to talk about why this is happening right now.
Right, because this didn't happen in a vacuum.
Exactly. The police didn't just wake up yesterday morning and decide, hey, let's go arrest a royal.
No, not at all. This is the kinetic result of a process that started late last year. It's a domino effect.
This is the direct result of the Epstein Files Transparency Act that passed in late 2025.
Which led to the massive data dump we are all wading through now.
And what a dump it is.
Oh, it's staggering. We are looking at the fallout of the unsealing of 3 million pages, 2,000 videos, and 180,000 images that dropped on January 30th, 2026.
3 million pages. Just try to visualize that for a second if you're listening. It is an absolute avalanche of information.
It really is.
And our mission today on this deep dive is to move past the tabloid shock. I mean, let's be honest, the shock is real, and we will get to that. But we want to try to understand the actual system that allowed this.
The architecture of it.
Exactly. We have a stack of sources here that is about a foot high. We're looking at the newly released DOJ files statements from UN experts and a couple of major investigative reports. One is titled The Epstein Files, a Record of Institutional Betrayal, and the other is Power, Complicity, and Institutional Failure.
And what we're seeing in these documents isn't just a list of crimes by one man. I think that is the biggest misconception people have right now.
They think it's a true crime story.
Exactly. They think this is a true crime story about Jeffrey Epstein. It isn't. Not anymore. It is a map of what we call the superclass.
A map of the superclass.
Yes. It is a deep dive into institutional failure at the highest possible levels.
I have to say, going through this material all night, the sheer volume is overwhelming. It feels like the dam finally broke. You can literally feel the weight of 30 years of secrets just spilling out into the open air.
It is a stress test for democracy. That's really the only way to describe it.
A stress test.
Yeah, we are seeing a real-time experiment play out. Can a system that was built to protect the powerful actually turn around and punish them?
That's the million-dollar question.
And yesterday's arrest suggests maybe it can, but the road to get here took 30 years. And the question is, why did it take that long? And what finally broke the dam?
So let's unpack this. We need to start with the immediate context. Section 1 of our deep dive is really about the floodgates opening. We are talking about the 2026 unsealing.
Right. And to understand the unsealing, you have to look at the political climate of 2025.
Which was wild.
It was this rare, almost bizarre moment of bipartisan unity.
It really felt like a glitch in the simulation.
It did.
You had the far left and the far right who agree on basically nothing. I mean, they can't agree on what day of the week. It is usually suddenly singing from the exact same hymnal on this one issue.
But you have to look at the motivations because they were entirely different.
Right.
You had the left demanding the files because they wanted to expose the corruption of capital.
Follow the money.
Right. They wanted to show how the billionaire class abuses power and exploits the vulnerable. They saw it fundamentally as a class war issue.
And then you had the right.
And you had the right demanding the files because they believed it would expose the deep state and the liberal establishment. They thought it would take down their political enemies.
So, totally different motivations.
Totally different. But the goal was the exact same. Release the files.
And the pressure just became insurmountable. Congress couldn't ignore it anymore.
Why, they couldn't.
And the transition we witnessed was fascinating. This topic moved from conspiracy theory to historical record almost overnight.
That is a crucial point. For a decade, if you talked about the intricacies of the Epstein network, the planes, the funds, the blackmail.
People looked at you like you were crazy.
Like you were wearing a tinfoil hat. You were the crazy person at Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
Now, those same details are stamped with the seal of the Department of Justice.
It's a massive validation for a lot of independent researchers, for better or worse.
It is.
But it's funny you mentioned that unity in getting the files released, because the actual execution of the release, well, that was anything but unified.
It was a disaster.
We have to talk about the redaction scandal from January, because if we are documenting history, this is a very dark chapter.
A catastrophic failure, truly. Incompetence doesn't even seem to cover it.
It borders on negligence so severe, it feels intentional, though the investigation suggests it was just sheer stupidity.
Stupidity on a historic scale.
For those listening who might have missed the technical details and missed all the chaos, walk us through what actually happened. Because when I first read about this, I thought it was a joke. I literally thought it was a satire article.
It does sound too stupid to be true. But here's the reality. The government attempted to redact names in these millions of digital pages.
Which is standard.
Very standard.
Yeah.
They were legally obligated to protect the identities of victims who were minors at the time, witnesses and innocent bystanders who just happened to be in the background.
So you use a redaction tool.
Right, but the technique they used was faulty. They used an automated batch processing tool that was supposed to burn in the redactions.
Burn in, explain that.
Meaning it makes the black docs a permanent part of the image file. So there is absolutely nothing underneath it. The pixels are gone.
Got it.
But the software failed. Instead, it essentially acted like a digital black highlighter. It drew a black box over the text layer in the PDF.
So visually it looked redacted.
To the human eye, looking at a monitor, it was a solid black box.
Right.
But in a PDF document, there are layers. They put a black layer on top, but they didn't flatten the file or scrub the underlying data.
So the text was still there.
The text was still there, sitting right underneath the black box.
Oh my God.
Which meant that anyone with a basic PDF reader, which is every single computer in the world, could simply highlight the blacked out text, hit copy-paste it into a Word document or a text editor, and read exactly what was underneath.
It sounds like a bad joke. It sounds like something from a slapstick comedy, not the Department of Justice handling the most sensitive files of the century.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But the human cost was horrific. We aren't just talking about exposing powerful perpetrators here.
Right.
If it just revealed the bad guys, maybe people will forgive the error. But this error revealed the names of 43 victims who had been explicitly promised privacy.
43 people.
43 survivors. Women who had spent years trying to rebuild their life, trying to stay completely anonymous. The UN experts cited in our sources called this secondary victimization.
Explain that term for us, secondary victimization.
Primary victimization is the abuse itself. That's the crime.
Right.
Secondary victimization is when the system, the police, the courts, the government, harms you again through negligence, insensitivity, or exposure. It is institutional gaslighting.
Wow.
Imagine being a survivor, having fought for anonymity, trusting the government to keep you safe, signing the papers, and then because of a technical glitch, your name is trending on social media.
There is a specific example in the files that really heartbreakingly illustrates this. Anuska de Joshua.
Yes. This case is just tragic. She is a victim. Her driver's license was part of the file doc.
Actual license?
Her actual license. Address, date of birth, photo signature, all of it. It was supposed to be redacted, wasn't.
So suddenly her home address is just out there on the internet.
Exactly. And in the age of doxing and internet vigilantes, that is an incredibly dangerous place to be. It forces these victims to relive the trauma, to hide, to change their physical security. It's a profound betrayal.
It's just negligence on a massive scale. It makes you angry just reading about it.
Absolutely.
But, and this is the complex part, and I guess this is the devil's advocate part, or maybe just the law of unintended consequences. That same massive, messy, incompetent release is exactly what led us to yesterday.
It connects directly. You can draw a straight line.
Right.
The arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on February 20th, 2026, draws a straight line back to evidence that surfaced in those unredacted tranches.
Because the black highlighter didn't just expose victims, it exposed the perpetrators too.
Exactly. Names that were supposed to be shielded for national security or ongoing investigation reasons were suddenly visible to everyone. It validates what analysts in the reports are calling the stress test theory.
Let's dig into that, the stress test.
The theory was, if the evidence is completely undeniable, can the system still look away?
Right.
For years, prosecutors could say, well, it's a he said, she said situation, or the fight logs aren't enough proof of an actual crime.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly. But the evidence in those files, it wasn't just flight logs anymore. It was corroborating details, schedules, emails, videos, specific dates and times. It was overwhelming.
It was a mountain of proof.
And at that point, the system, the DOJ, the Crown Prosecution Service in the UK, they were backed into a corner.
They had no choice.
They could no longer look away without collapsing under the weight of their own hypocrisy. If they didn't act, they were basically admitting the law does not apply to these people.
If they hadn't arrested him, the justice system effectively admits it doesn't work.
Exactly. They had to act to save the credibility of the institution itself. It wasn't just about justice. It was about the survival of the legal system's reputation.
It's incredible to think that paper, just boxes of digital paper, can have that kind of kinetic force. It can force the hand of a king's brother.
It really is.
But let's pivot for a second.
Right.
We know what happened. The big question, the one that really keeps me up at night reading this stuff, is how?
The mechanics of it.
Yes. How did he do it? How does a math teacher become this global power broker?
This is where we get into the architecture of the empire, section 2 of our deep dive. And the origin story is critical here because it sets the template for everything else he did.
Right, because he wasn't born a billionaire. He wasn't born into the Rockefeller family. He didn't inherit an empire.
No. He started as a math teacher at the Dalton School in New York in the 1970s, a private school teacher.
And then he makes his massive jump to Bear Stearns in 1980.
Correct. And this is one of those mysteries that the file shed some light on, but it's still surprisingly murky. He gets a job at Bear Stearns, becomes a partner in record time, and by 1988 he founds J. Epstein & Co.
Fast rise.
Very fast. But here's the key, and the sources highlight this heavily. He created a carefully constructed facade of financial intelligence.
The myth of the genius.
Exactly. He claimed to manage money only for billionaires. He famously told people, I don't take clients with less than $1 billion.
Wow.
It was an exclusive club that you couldn't apply to join. You had to be invited.
It's the ultimate velvet rope strategy. If you tell people they aren't rich enough for your services, they suddenly want your services desperately.
It plays on the insecurity of the ultra-wealthy.
Am I rich enough for Jeffrey?
Precisely. But the file suggests something else entirely. He wasn't really just collecting money. In fact, his actual financial wizardry is, let's call it, debatable in the records.
Really?
Yeah, there are no massive trading records showing him making billions in the open market.
So what was he actually doing?
He was collecting people. The sources make a very profound point here. Epstein collected people as assets. He traded in introductions, in access, and in leverage.
This brings us to the halo effect. I found this concept fascinating in the reading. Can you break that down for the listener?
Sure. It's a well-known psychological concept. Basically, our brains are lazy.
Fair enough.
We use shortcuts to judge character. If you're seen with brilliant, powerful, or good people, the public simply assumes you must also be brilliant, powerful, and good.
So if I see him shaking hands with a Nobel Prize winner or the president of Harvard or a royal,
your brain automatically fills in the gaps. You think, well, he must be legit. A Nobel Prize winner wouldn't hang out with a crook. A president wouldn't fly on a plane with a monster.
So the people around him literally became his camouflage.
Exactly. Epstein surrounded himself with the absolute top tier of society. University presidents, royals, heads of state. It creates this massive cognitive dissonance.
Even when people saw things.
Even when people saw predatory behavior, and people did see it, there were whispers for years. They ignored it because it didn't fit the halo of the company he kept.
And the associates themselves likely practiced this cognitive dissonance.
Oh, absolutely. They would tell themselves he can't be a monster. He's funding the theoretical physics department at MIT. He's a philanthropist.
Right.
He's eccentric, sure, but he's a science philanthropist. They used his money to justify their own blindness.
Speaking of funding departments, this is the part of the files that really made my jaw drop. The grooming of institutions.
It's unbelievable.
We talk about grooming victims, and that is horrific and central to his crimes. But he used the exact same psychological tactics to groom entire universities.
He did. He purchased what the sources specifically called reputational insurance.
Reputational insurance.
And there's no better example of this. No clearer smoking gun in the entire 3 million pages than the case study of Karina Shuliak in Columbia University.
This story, honestly, it reads like a movie script about corruption. It's so blatant. If you put this in a fictional show, people would say it's too on the nose.
It is. But the paper trail is undeniable.
So walk us through it step by step. Karina Shuliak was Epstein's girlfriend.
Right, and she wanted to go to dental school, specifically Columbia, a very prestigious program.
But there was a problem.
She was initially rejected. She didn't have the grades or the academic background. The admissions office looked at her application and just said no.
And a normal person stops there. You get a rejection letter, you move on with your life.
A normal person stops there. But Epstein views no as the start of a negotiation.
Right.
So what does he do? He doesn't just make a phone call. He activates a network.
He used his personal dentist as a go-between, right?
He did. The dentist, who was a prominent Columbia alumnus, someone with status at the school, contacts the school on Epstein's behalf, saying, basically, Mr. Epstein is very interested in this applicant. And then the machinery starts turning. You have a department chair sending her study guides for the entrance exam.
Wait, the actual department chair sending study guides?
Yes. Basically, cheat sheets. Here is exactly what you need to know to pass.
That's insane.
It gets worse. Then you have a vice dean creating a personalized study plan for her.
A personalized study plan for a student who was already rejected.
Yes. They completely rolled out the red carpet. They held her hand through the entire process. And here is the transaction laid out in black and white in the financial records.
The money.
The money. Epstein donates $100,000 to a public health project run by the dean.
Okay.
He gives another $50,000 to the dental school directly, and he pays over $630,000 in tuition.
It's pay to play, plain and simple. He just bought the seat.
It is. But listen to the justification. This is what chills me. This is where you see how the corruption normalizes itself inside these prestigious institutions.
What did they say?
A former dean admitted in the files, when asked by investigators why they did this, he said, if the favor's not unreasonable, you grant it, you're trying to develop a relationship.
You're trying to develop a relationship.
Yeah.
That is the actual mechanism of corruption right there. It's not framed internally as a bribe. It's framed as development.
And that is exactly how he bought his insurance. If a university has taken nearly $1 million from you and bent their own strict admissions rules for your girlfriend, they are complicit.
They're in the boat with you.
They're in the boat. They can't turn on you without exposing their own rule breaking. He trapped them with his generosity.
It's so incredibly calculated. He makes them partners in the corruption. So when the rumors start, they have a massive financial and reputational incentive to just ignore them.
Exactly. He's our donor. We can't offend the donor.
It brings us to the timeline of missed chances. Because looking at this timeline, you realize this wasn't some inevitable tragedy that couldn't be stopped. This could have been stopped so many times.
Decades. We are talking about 30 years of missed off-ramps. 30 years where the system simply blinked.
The timeline really starts in 1996.
Maria Farmer. You have to say her name. She and her sister reported abuse to the FBI in 1996.
1996, that is 30 years ago from where we are sitting today.
They went to the authorities, they told the truth, they gave specific actionable details, and nothing.
Nothing happened.
The silence from that moment is the first massive crack in the foundation of justice here. That is where the institutional betrayal truly begins. The FBI had it.
And then we jump forward to 2005, Palm Beach, Operation Leap Year.
This is a crucial pivot point in the whole saga. You had local police in Palm Beach who actually did their job. We often paint law enforcement with a broad brush, but the local detectives there, Detective Michael Reiter and his team, they amassed what the files describe as overwhelming evidence.
They raided the house, they found the massage tables, they found the photos.
They were completely ready to go. They were ready to charge him with multiple felonies that would have put him away for life.
But then you have this massive tension. The local cops are ready to prosecute, but then federal power steps in.
And that leads us directly to 2008, the infamous sweetheart deal.
U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta.
He signs the non-prosecution agreement, or NPA.
Remind the listener what that deal actually entailed, because even now, hearing it a decade later, it's baffling.
Epstein serves only 13 months, but not in a federal penitentiary. He serves it in a county jail in a private wing, and he gets work release.
Meaning he could just leave.
He was leaving the jail during the day 6 days a week to go to his office.
That's wild.
He was essentially sleeping at the jail and living his normal billionaire life during the day. He had his private driver pick him up from the jail.
That's not prison. That's a hotel with a strict curfew.
And the sources now refer to this deal not just as a mistake or a soft plea, but as a calculated subversion of the Crime Victims' Rights Act.
Calculated subversion.
It was explicitly illegal. The law requires that victims be notified of a plea deal. They weren't. The deal was signed entirely in secret.
So the victims are sitting there waiting for justice.
The victims thought the investigation was still ongoing and active, while Acosta was literally signing the papers to let him off.
And what was the sociological impact of that? I mean, what does that do to the public's brain when they see that happen in broad daylight?
It created learned helplessness.
Learned helplessness. Let's define that.
It's a psychological state. When you feel that no matter what you do, the outcome is fixed. You just stop trying. The public saw this. They saw a billionaire get a slap on the wrist for crimes that would put a normal person away for life. It completely reinforced the concept of the two-tiered justice system.
If you have enough money, you don't just get a better lawyer, you get a different set of laws.
Exactly. The public learned that justice is just a commodity.
Which brings us to the politics of it all. Because once you open these files, as we saw in 2026, you realize this isn't a partisan issue. It's not Democrats are bad or Republicans are bad. It's a power issue.
The fallout has hit the left, the right, and the center equally hard. And the sources are very clear on this. If you're looking for a political team to root for in these files, you're going to be severely disappointed.
Everyone gets muddy.
Everyone gets muddy. There are absolutely no heroes in the political class here.
Let's start with the right. What
Kat.
the source is called the Bannon paradox. This one really twisted my brain a little bit when I read it.
It is deeply, deeply ironic. Steve Bannon, the architect of the NGA movement, the voice of the anti-establishment. He spent years on his show demanding the files be released.
Release the files was the rallying cry. He framed it as the key to exposing the establishment.
But then the files are released. And what did we find? Bannon and Epstein were actually close.
We have their texts right.
We have texts from 2018. They were discussing the 25th Amendment, using it to remove Trump.
Wait, Bannon and Epstein were discussing removing Trump.
According to the texts, yes. It was strategic, but even more striking and frankly more cynical is the PR advice Bannon gave Epstein.
This is the crush quote.
Yes. Bannon advised Epstein to, and I quote from the text, directly crush the pedo narrative and rebuild his image as a philanthropist.
Crush the pedo narrative.
Yes.
That is knowing what we know now and what Bannon likely knew then. That is incredibly cynical.
It's strictly transactional. It's about power and image, not truth. He didn't say, are you guilty? He said, crush the narrative.
And look at the fallout today. In February 2026, Bannon is completely silent on his show about this specific connection.
He has gone dark on this topic. Meanwhile, you have other figures in that movement like Laura Loomer demanding answers.
Right.
The movement is eating itself over this.
Right.
Why was our guy talking to him?
It breaks the narrative that we are the good guys and they are the bad guys.
But the left doesn't get a pass here either, not by a long shot.
No, not at all. You have Bill Clinton. The files confirm 17 plus trips on the plane.
17! That's a commute. That's not a one-time lift because you missed a commercial flight. And you have the UK Labour Party in massive crisis right now because Peter Mandelson, a huge figure in British politics, the architect of New Labour, sent sensitive government info to Epstein.
Why? Why would he do that?
Why does anyone send info to Epstein? To curry favor, to be part of the inner club.
And over in France.
The former culture minister, Jack Lang, just resigned due to financial links revealed in the files.
It's entirely global.
It is global, and this deeply supports the superclass theory.
Let's drill down on this. What exactly is the superclass?
The theory is that the true divide in our world isn't left versus right. It isn't Democrat versus Republican. It's the superclass versus everyone else.
So the elites have more in common with each other than they do the actual voters?
Exactly. These people, Clinton, Trump, Andrew Mandelson, they operate in a social ecosystem where the normal rules are just suspended.
They live in a different reality.
They attend the same weddings, the same galas. They protect each other. They trade favors. They are members of a club where the price of admission is your soul, apparently.
Or at least your silence.
Yes. Price is your silence.
And they did protect each other until the ink dried on the Transparency Act.
Then the rats started eating each other. Because when the spotlight hits, self-preservation just kicks in.
But okay, with all this real information, we also have to deal with the noise. Because when you dump 3 million pages on the internet, things get weird fast.
They really do.
Section 5 of our dive, myths, noise, and the decoy van.
The danger of sunlight is that it can blind you if you aren't careful. The release created what sources call an informational swamp.
We have seen some wild stuff in the last month online. The Pizzagate resurgence.
Classic conspiracy thinking. People are desperately looking for patterns. There's an email about a U9 red soccer team pizza party.
U9 just means under 9, right? Like a normal kids league.
Yes, it was just a normal kids soccer team event. But online sleuths twisted U9 red into some kind of dark code. They wanted it to be sinister, so they made it sinister.
And the Fortnite gamer. I saw this one trending on social media.
Yes. People genuinely thought Epstein was alive because a user handle, similar to his, was active on the video game Fortnite.
Epstein is alive and he is cranking 90s in Fortnite. It's so absurd.
It turned out to be a troll who just changed their name to mess with people.
And the AI fakes. I saw that video of Brad Pitt fighting Tom Cruise about Epstein's secrets. It looked so realistic.
It was a parody, but millions of people shared it as fact. And the photo of NYC Mayor Mamdani as a child with Epstein, completely AI generated.
Just made up out of whole cloth.
This is the new frontier disinformation. You don't just have to lie with words anymore. You can lie with pixels.
But amidst all the fake noise, there were some actual truths that were stranger than fiction. The Wikipedia manipulation.
This is true. This is completely confirmed in the files. In 2010, Epstein conspired with a futurist named Al Seckel. They actively scrubbed sex offender from his Wikipedia bio.
They just went in and deleted it.
Deleted it. And they replaced his mugshot with a friendly picture. They were rewriting history in real time, relying on the fact that most people just glance at the summary box.
They were curating his digital soul.
Exactly.
But the story that really, I don't know, it feels like it belongs in a spy novel, is the decoy van. This is actually confirmed in the files.
It is, and it is deeply chilling.
Walk us through that night in 2019, the night he died.
So it's the night of his death. The media is swarming the jail in New York, cameras everywhere, helicopters overhead. The files reveal that the jail staged a diversion.
A diversion.
They loaded a fake body, literally piles of sheets and boxes, shaped like a human on a gurney, into a marked van.
They made a dummy, like in a prison escape movie.
They made a dummy. They drove this van out to distract the cameras and the press. And it worked. The press chased the van, cameras flashing at a pile of laundry.
Meanwhile,
his actual body left completely unnoticed in a black vehicle out a different exit.
why? Why go to that level of trouble?
Crowd control, misdirection. They wanted to avoid the circus. But think about the massive implications of that.
Right.
If you are a conspiracy theorist, or honestly even just a rational skeptic, and you hear that the federal jail used a fake body in a van.
It fuels the double death myths. It fuels the idea that he's still alive or that it wasn't him in the van.
Exactly. Even though official rulings clearly say suicide, the fact that they engaged in this theatrical deception makes it very hard for the public to trust the official narrative.
It's the boy who cried wolf, but with federal institutions. If you lie about the van, what else are you lying about?
Precisely. Trust is a very fragile thing. Once you break it with a fake body, you don't get it back.
No, you don't.
It creates a vacuum where conspiracy theories thrive because the official story literally has holes in it.
So what does this all mean? We are at Section 6. So what? We have the files, we have the arrests, we have the decoy vans. What are the global implications of this unsealing?
The world is watching, and they are judging.
How is China reacting to this?
Chinese state media is having an absolute field day. They are using the files to frame Western democracy as a collapsing moral framework.
It's propaganda fuel.
Their argument is, look at their leaders, look at their corruption. They lecture us on human rights. Look at what their superclass does to children.
That's a devastating talking point.
It weakens the West's soft power significantly. It gives authoritarian regimes a massive whataboutism card to play forever.
And the UN, how are they framing it?
The language there has shifted dramatically. The UN Human Rights Council is now explicitly using the term crimes against humanity.
That is a very heavy term, usually reserved for war zones and genocides.
They are arguing that this was systematic sexual slavery. And that implies it requires international scrutiny, not just domestic trials.
So they don't trust the U.S. to handle it.
They're suggesting the U.S. justice system might not be capable of handling this alone because it is simply too compromised.
They're basically saying we can't clean up our own mess.
Yes. And honestly, looking at the last 30 years, can you blame them for thinking that?
Not really. And then there's the spy angle, the intelligence asset theory.
The files show meetings, lots of them. Meetings with intelligence figures, former CIA, Mossad, etc. Right.
But the sources are very careful here. There is no smoking gun document that says Epstein is an agent.
No ID badge, no payroll stub.
No. But the theory heavily persists that he was gathering compromise.
Explain compromise for the listener.
Compromising material. Blackmail. It's really the only thing that makes the people collecting make sense.
Why collect people?
Why film them? Why keep such detailed logs of who came and went? If you aren't using them for leverage, what are they actually for?
It explains the funding. It explains the decades of protection.
But again, the files offer smoke, not the fire itself. We can see the shape of the fire, but we can't touch it yet. We're left to infer based on the associations.
It brings us to a profound reflection on accountability. The sources call the files a mirror and a window.
A mirror reflecting our broken system, and a window into how power actually operates behind closed doors.
The haunting question the experts in these reports pose is, can a system punish those who own the system?
Yesterday, with the arrest of a royal, we got a tentative yes, but it's a very fragile yes.
It took 30 years. It took 30 years. It took a Transparency Act. It took millions of people demanding it to move the needle an inch.
It feels like we have finally moved from a conspiracy to a historical record. That's the real synthesis here.
We have. For years, people who connected these exact dots were called paranoid. The files prove that the paranoid observers were often right about the connections, even if they got the specific details wrong.
It's not just about Jeffrey Epstein anymore. It really hasn't been for a long time.
No, it's about the death of the secret. In the digital age, you just can't hide 3 million pages forever. The smoke-filled rooms are finally being ventilated.
It leaves us with a lot to think about. We are truly living through history right now.
We are, and we need to pay close attention. We can't look away just because the details are ugly.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, a provocative question derived from that chilling detail we discussed earlier.
The van.
The van. If the system was willing to use a literal decoy van to hide his body from the press, what other decoys have we been chasing while the real truth slipped away unnoticed?
That is the ultimate question.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we will see you next time.